Hi, welcome to Punchline Talks, the business breakfast briefers. I'm Mark Owen, and each week I invite a panel of business experts to review the morning newspapers, find out what's happened in their own individual business and their own individual business sectors, and finally, what's caught their eye in this week's Punchline. But before I start, I just want to thank our fantastic sponsors, Hazelwood's Accountants and Business Advisors. Okay, let's meet the panel. Today we've got Alex Lyttle. He's the head of employment at Davies and Partners. The company has 180 staff across four sites and approximate turnover of 9 million. Alex is an employment expert in law and how to avoid employment difficulties. So, what are the latest pitfalls employers should be looking out for? Has he seen a rise in employment tribunals and redundancies? And if so, is there a particular sector? Plus, what is really happening out there as well? We have Shaun Pegler. He's a partner at Randall and Payne Accountants. Shaun manages the accounts service team based at Chargrove House in Shurdington. The company was founded 146 years ago, employs 50 staff. Nearly a year ago, they achieved B-Corp certification. But what's that really mean? And what has been the impact on his company and the clients? And finally, not least, we've got Ed Stallard. He's the MD of A&E Fire Security. The company started in 1965, based in Cheltenham's Bamfoylon Industrial Park, employs 85 people, has a turnover of 7 million, and fields a team of 40 engineers on the road every day, maintaining and installing fire and security systems across 3 counties. The company has never been busier. So where's this growth come from, and why are they so flat out at the moment? Okay, let's see what's making the newspapers. Courtesy of the BBC, if I can share this screen here. Here we go. Okay. Okay, hopefully everybody can see that. The Times, houses burn and train derails on the hottest day. The Daily Mail, Inferno, hottest day of the year. The Mirror, Britain on fire. The Daily Star, horror on the 2:24 p.m. The Daily Telegraph, China funding Palestine marches. The Metro, record 2.5 trips to A&E. The Guardian, universities fear financial turmoil. There's the 24 million people face paying higher water bills. The Daily Express, don't hand out rewards for further failure. The Financial Times, anthropotic investors bet on record 2 trillion. And that's it for now. Okay, a real mixed bag today, but let's be honest. Yesterday was hot. I mean, really hot. Goodness gracious. Let's start with you, Alex. What have you picked out for the papers?
It's an article. I'm being a bit geeky about this because it's an employment law one, but it's an article in the Daily Mail of Angela Rayner and 0 hours contracts. So in essence, in a few months' time, 0 hours contracts are probably going to disappear, and it's the balance between employees' rights and employers' rights. Personally, I think they can be very useful. An awful lot of students love them because they can dip in and out of work. They don't have to attend work every day, and the employer likes it, so there's flexibility. So it's basically saying if this goes ahead, a lot of jobs may well be lost, and employers, some of the big employers, saying that it needs to be thought again.
But surely it's going to be another nail in the head for the hospitality industry.
I think, it'll be interesting to hear what some people think about that because they really run on it. And hospitality in the generalist terms, like all your Deliveroo guys and all that sort of thing, those are the contracts they're on. So how are they going to work?
Let alone employing young people as well.
Yeah.
They're normally on the 0 hour contracts, and let's be honest about it. Cafes and restaurants, they don't know how busy they're going to be.
No, and it's hard enough for young people to get a job at the minute anyway. On a temporary, the Saturday jobs more or less disappeared. So it's just another, as you said, another nail in the coffin for that sort of thing.
Okay, thanks so much for that, Alex. Ed, let's bring you in. What have we picked out from the papers? Great to have you on the show.
Thank you. I picked out the Inferno in the Daily Mail, the fires that have been happening all over the country. Especially on social media, I've seen a lot of smaller fires as well. But really, the message I'm picking up is that a lot more people need to pay attention to prevention. It's all right having the reaction to it, the great job the firefighters are doing and my engineers are doing, installing and maintaining fire alarm systems and things like that. But I think the wider public need to be a bit more conscious on preventing fires in the first place. A good example is Amazon pushing back on not selling. They're still selling disposable barbecues online. So a simple thing like that in restricting or stopping selling disposable barbecues would stop all this damage and disaster sort of that's happening in the West Midlands at the moment with quite a few houses that were burnt down last night. One of my managers is actually an on-call firefighter, Paul Adams, and he was out all last night supporting the Walsall Fire Brigade. So I think really everybody needs to pay a bit more attention on preventing fires in the first place rather than how we are reacting to them.
No, we actually, and Andy Burnham calling for a sort of, ban on this. It's just common sense. It's just common sense, isn't it? I mean, God's sake. Okay, thanks for that, Ed. Didn't your son work in the fire department as well? Did you say that he was working late last night?
No, that's one of my managers. One of my managers.
Sorry.
Yeah.
All right, sorry about that. Shaun, okay, what have you picked out for the papers, please?
So I've got the exam results week for A-level students, and also linking that through to the universities fearing the financial turmoil amid the slump in overseas students. So in the UK, you've got school leavers going to uni have hit a new high, and there's higher top grades this year, and it has been for the last 3 years each year. Alex has said at the start, younger generation looking to get jobs with everything that's going on there. Like, are the two linked? More people going to uni for this? But there's 900,000 students took A-levels, 28.5% got an A or an A star. The way I look at this is we need to be attracting some of these students back to Gloucestershire, back to the great businesses that we've got, and job prospects are influencing the choices that these students are making. I think law and economics are two of the high choices at the moment this year. But I think the students are looking at it, and the cost of going to uni, the student debt, AI coming into different workplaces, they're really looking at the kind of time they're investing in their studies and the money they're investing. It really needs to be worth it. And then you link into the other in the Guardian about the overseas students, and the sectors have asked the government to rethink the levy on the international students. So the funding that's going to be available for the universities is dropping off. That's going to mean potentially less staff, less lecturers, less courses available. So although we've got more students wanting to go to uni, there's not going to be the funds there available to give them the courses that they want. Student visa applications have dropped by 11%, and there's fears that this could go up to 30%, reading through the paper this morning. So yeah, I'm very much, the next generation of our business. We need people coming up through the ranks, whether that's a school leaver or a university graduate. And at the moment, it just looks tough, either option you go to. So we need to do all we can in Gloucestershire to basically attract and retain some of the great youngsters that are coming through.
I couldn't agree with you more. And some of these universities are offering massive incentives as well to get the students. I think one was offering £5,000, offering one was I think it was a whole year's accommodation free. Others were offering Netflix, all sorts of stuff. Subscription to Punchline. Yeah. Who knows? Could be a winner. Okay, thanks ever so much for that, guys. A real mixed bag today, but my goodness, it was definitely hot. Okay, Alex, let's bring you in. I mean, I printed off all this sort of list of UK new rules and regs coming down. But first of all, I just want to say, has there been a rise sort of in employment tribunals and redundancies that you've seen over the last 6 months or so?
The pattern for redundancies, I say, is spiky. And summer, you don't get them so much. I think September will probably tell a tale. And the other high points around Christmas, you tend to get a lot. I think that's to do with budgets and that sort of thing. So it's difficult to say on redundancies because you see that by way of settlement agreements. Employment tribunal claims, there are certainly a lot more for neurodiversity. That is the one at the minute where employers are struggling to stem the tide of claims, because it's sort of the card that is pulled whenever somebody wants to do their own working pattern and everything else. So those have shot up dramatically, and they're just sort of going through the employment tribunal system at the minute. The problem we've got is the employment tribunal system's in a mess. I had London Central sort of always going to be the worst. I have a claim in London that's issued in London Central, and the preliminary hearing, which is the first stage after you issue your response to any claim, has been listed for November 2027. So that claim won't even start until November 2027. So it's difficult to see how what the number of employment tribunal claims at the minute, because they're just such a backlog with them.
Wow, 2027. I mean,
Yeah.
both sides are going to be left in limbo leading up to that. The business person, the business community, whichever business it is, they've got that hanging over them, and the person who's making the claim.
And it's not even that, Mark. I don't know about you. I can't remember what I did yesterday, trying to remember what I did 2.5 years ago. And that's only the start of the claim. It'll be another year before the claim's heard. Remembering that length of time from a witness's point of view, there's definite question marks over the reliability of that.
Okay, just going back to the neurodiversity, what are we talking about here?
Example would be, you've got an employee who, I can't give names, but you've got an employee who says that they want to work from 11 o'clock every day and finish at 3 o'clock every day because they've got some sort of neurodiversity problem. Most businesses aren't able to employ somebody who will work from 9 to 11 and 3 to 5. It's just not practical. So businesses turn around saying, terribly sorry, business needs, we're not able to facilitate that. And then a claim has been issued for discrimination on those grounds. That's the sort of thing. It's the whole flexible working merging with neurodiversity is creating a bit of a problem.
Okay, and obviously Raina, she wants to bring a whole stack of new rules and regulations as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, there's a lot of them to do with round trade unions and everything else, but they only employ to the larger employers. I think it's day one rights that are the big thing. One that springs to mind came in earlier this year is you've got day one right for sickness SSP now. So it's a day one right, and you don't have the 3 days before you have to pay it. It's immediate. So you could have somebody starting work on the Monday and go off on SSP on the Tuesday, and it would have to go through the system. The one that I think is a sleeping giant is to do with the protection of harassment regulations, because in essence, the employer's not only got a duty to train all of their staff, and it's going to be properly trained that you can show it on a 6 monthly or yearly basis. But also you've got liability for the third party contractors who come into your premises. So an example would be, I don't know why air conditioning's in my head at the minute, but you've got somebody coming in to service the air conditioning, and you're responsible for their employees. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. The cases haven't gone through the system yet, so we just don't know. It hasn't been tested. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens there.
Oh my God, it's just more pressure on business.
Indeed.
I know obviously employees need protection, but there comes a point where you just think, I don't need this. I can't deal with this, especially small companies.
You just won't recruit.
You just won't recruit. That's it. That is exactly it. Okay, thanks ever so much for that, Alex. Great insight there. Ed, great to see you. Thanks ever so much for coming on board. Obviously, A&E Fire and Security, business is booming. Not because fires are booming, but how come you guys are doing so well?
There's two answers to that question, really. The first time, it's just the time of the year at the moment. We are busy with projects in schools whilst they're on summer holidays. So a lot of our works get carried out whilst the schools are empty. Our engineers are flat out this time of the year, and praise to them with working in these temperatures. So that's all good. But really, I'm the third generation now, so I've managed to learn from the mistakes of the first and the second generation and putting all that into practice. So I feel I took over in 2016. I rebuilt from probably about 2016 to 2022. And then from 2022 onwards, we've really sort of seen a lot of growth and more customers that we've taken on in Gloucestershire and the surrounding counties. But I think resilience and reliability is really, really important for what I do in my role, but to establish that culture within the business as well. So I really feel adding that layer of resilience and reliability and quality of service, additional to customer service, has really seen us, our reputation grow.
Now, one of the things I was really impressed with when I came down to your place was that you've got this big warehouse there. A lot of people don't even realise it's also one of the biggest buildings on the estate as well, actually. But you've got this massive warehouse and you keep so much stock. Why is it that much important? So important to the business? I mean, it's thousands of pounds.
hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of stock. So yeah, the accountants and the financial directors and all that wouldn't be happy with holding that much stock and for that much time. But I feel like it's an important part of the level of customer service. So if you've got a fire alarm system that's not working, you want it fixed same day. And there's many different types of fire alarm systems. So we have to hold that wide variety of parts. So if an engineer's got a problem and needs to get a fire alarm system back up and working same day, if it's sleeping accommodation, that's what the customers expect, and that's what they pay us for. But I see Shaun smiling when I said how much lead time I've got on my stock. Some of it can stay in for 2 or 3, 4 years, but we've got ancient fire alarm panels down there, and you never know. A customer with an old fire alarm system needs a spare part, we can go and wrestle it in the warehouse and pull it out and use it. So I think it is a cost. It is a difficult one to carry, but I feel like it's an investment to provide that level of customer service.
Can I just ask you, was it difficult taking over from your father? Where finally, when because obviously you third generation now. It's 70 years.
Yeah.
Was that hard for you, or was it because you've worked in the business so long? It was a natural handover.
So I feel that you have to build your team around you, and it's been very difficult that I've rebuilding the company, rebuilding the business, and building my team around me. So that is looking at bringing people in that work in new ways, and then what I learned in university is managing change with your employees, getting people to grow and adapt and change with modern working practices and new way of working has been extremely difficult. And I've had great support from external people, consultants and things like that, giving me good advice. And I'm really thankful that, I've managed to grow a new or evolved team of office staff and engineers into the good practice that we do today. But I'd probably say it's been extremely difficult. Changing a company that's 50 or 60 years old into a new company has been challenging.
No, well, congratulations to you, mate, and all your team there. And thanks for making me so welcome when I came down and shot that video with you guys the other day. Okay, Shaun, let's get you here. It's really great to see you again. Last time I saw you, you were sitting next to me, and we were doing a B-Corp special, weren't we? Which is quite good fun. Yeah, hopefully we'll do that again. Shaun, so it's over a year or nearly a year since you became a B-Corp. First of all, what is B-Corp? We want to explain that. And what does it really mean for the business? What does it really mean? And what's the impact on the company and the clients?
Yep. You may need to stop me because when I start talking about this, I could go on for a long time.
Well,
so when my time's up,
I'll do that. Okay.
But I mean, in short, B Corp basically means that we've been independently certified for high standards of social and environmental performance, accountability, and transparency. So at Randall Payne, we really do care about our staff. We care about our clients. We care about the environment we work in, and we care about the community around us. And the B Corp basically is a very rigorous test to just basically prove that you're doing what you say you're doing, and then you are very much held accountable to that. So that's kind of in a nutshell what it means. But for us, it's all about the staff, and we've actually been shortlisted as finalist for Employer of the Year at the Accounting Excellence Awards next month. So kind of we're putting a lot into what we're building within the team. Without the team, we don't have a business. So to be shortlisted for the finalist for Employer of the Year is fantastic. The business has grown. We've got a new manager starting next month, a new audit trainee starting next month. We're on the lookout for someone for the tax team. B Corp has been mentioned in quite a number of these interviews. We've seen that you're a B Corp. We've looked at what you're doing for your charity work. It's being mentioned more and more. So you'd normally get a few applications, you get in more, and B Corp is like the main reason they're looking at it. So there's also other B Corps do like to work with B Corps. So we've taken on a number of new clients, whether that's full service clients or just like payroll for them to start off. But it's also quite unique in that the B Corps want to do like publicity to say that we're now working together. Normally we take on a new client and it's don't tell anybody that you're our accountant, don't tell anybody that you're our client. It's all a bit hush hush. Whereas the B Corp community, everybody wants to help each other. It doesn't matter if there's two businesses doing the exact same thing in the room. They share stories. This is working for us at the moment. This isn't working for us. For us, going to work with other B-Corps, the normal due diligence checks that you do on somebody that you want to work with. Can I trust them? Are they who they say they are? Do they do what they say? Going through all the testing, you kind of know that they're doing all that. They wouldn't have B-Corp status if they weren't looking after their staff, if they weren't looking after their customers. So that really helps. We've ran our own 2 events at Randall Payne and attracted a number of Gloucestershire businesses over to explain what B-Corp means. I did the show with yourself, which went out. We've let the Gloucester B-Corp group hold an event at our Chargrove House. We're hosting another event in November time. And it's just about bringing businesses together that want to do well, like-minded people, want to help each other, want to grow, want to do more for the community and bring more to Gloucestershire. And it's a brilliant group.
Okay, thanks ever so much for that, show. I love your passion on it. I love your passion. I was thinking, on my little small company, could I become B Corp? But anyway, here we go. Guys, we're going to do a question time between us all. Okay, so have any of you got a question for each other? So, Alex, would like to ask somebody a question?
I can start off with Shaun. Shaun, you mentioned AI at the start. How do you see that affecting accountancy generally? I'm thinking audit and that sort of thing, where it will come in.
So I'm not in the audit department, but I know our audit department are looking strongly at this. You've got some of the very big names in the industry are rapidly looking at AI and adopting AI, probably a lot faster than we are. But again, the way we look at this is you get a trainee in new from school, straight from uni. They need to be understanding the basics of what an audit is, the methodology, the testing, the requirements. So if you have your AI bot basically doing all of that for you, training that generation to come up through the ranks to become senior, semi-senior, manager, junior manager, it's getting that approach correct. So do you just take the stance of, well, we're never going to do that training, we just need to train them at a very high level straight away? Or do we take the approach of, okay, it might not be as cost effective for us to be paying the wages of the juniors to do the work, but for the future of the business and the progression of the individuals, they get a much more strong grinding as to what they're doing. So it's huge at the moment. I mean, if you use Xero, you're using AI. If you're taking a picture of your invoice and uploading it, that's AI helping. But it's also a very dangerous tool, as you probably see in your line of business. People are putting things through ChatGPT, Copilot, and asking questions, but they're not asking the right questions. So yeah, it's a dangerous tool. It's like a very, very excited trainee, isn't it? It can go off and do everything very, very fast, but doesn't necessarily focus on the true point that you're looking for. So I don't know if I've answered your question there or not. But
no, you have.
Yeah, it's a hot topic, isn't it, at the moment?
It is indeed.
Okay, right. Thanks ever so much. Anybody else got a question for each other?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, go on, Ed.
Just for Alex and Shaun, really, or either of you. You engage with a lot of employers and a lot of businesses. How is the Gloucestershire economy doing? So I see a lot of uncertainty with the budget coming out towards the end of this year. But how is Gloucestershire doing?
Alex first.
To me first. Sorry, sure. I don't know if Shaun's going to disagree with me, but I think it's lumpy. I think it depends what you're doing. Some people are struggling more than others. I think it's all about development. It's all about being slight of foot and if it's a product, keeping your product up to date and just your processes up to date and all of that sort of thing. So I think, to be fair, it's just uncertain.
Okay. Shaun?
I think I'd agree with that. I mean, there was the Punchline article this week, wasn't there, about Southwest firms getting back on track. I think some data that NatWest released. And I do see certain sectors doing very, very well at the moment. But there's also certain sectors that are really struggling. So I think it depends what sector you're in at the moment. I mean, your AI businesses, your cyber security, those businesses are doing well. Obviously, your business is doing very well at the moment as well. But there's others that are really struggling. And I think with all the changes coming in, like Alex was talking about employment rights and all the rest of it, you are going to get some people just going, we've been doing this for years, we're tired, there's more challenges to face, there's all these uncertainties. What do we do next? And that kind of leads on to when we come to the next bit about kind of Punchline articles and pension shortfalls and things like that. But depends what you're in. Depends what line of business you're in. Yeah.
It's to be honest with you, it's exactly the same. I think you just got to fight like crazy.
Yeah.
We're all like ducks. We're all there, floating along, looking pretty, pretty calm, whatever, floating across the water. But underneath, we're all paddling like mad. That's how I see the economy at the moment. And the other thing, I think, Shaun, you hit it on the head. Everybody I talk to is exhausted. They're pretty knackered. It's hard work, and and I don't want to damn the government, but they made it even harder in a challenging situation. And so anyway, let's go over to the pick of the punchlines. Thanks ever so much for that, guys. Let's start with you, Ed. What have you picked out from Punchline this week, please?
So there was a mention of the cheaper police in Gloucestershire again, but I was just going to sort of refer to the change of leadership multiple times with the Gloucestershire Police. Probably goes on from my question about the Gloucestershire economy. Just the wider change of the prime ministers as well, how many we've had, how many people change in public offices, and they must be in for a year or 2 or 3 years. That's no stability for the economy. So I think I'm venting a bit of frustration there. And I also see it with my local area that I live in, Gotherington, in terms of the Bishop's Cleeve. They're looking to expand the boundary right up to Gotherington. But the planners that make these decisions, they don't stay in the department for long enough in the councils, and then they move on. So people are making key decisions within these public organisations. They're there for a year, 2, 3, 4. Let alone the cost it takes to change, but the level of uncertainty that then does to the private industry and the economy. I'm probably venting frustration here. Lack of stability in leadership in our government and public organisations. What's the answer?
I totally agree. And what I don't understand is devolution. This government is all about devolution and mayors. Well, you might get another government comes on and get rid of it.
Yeah, change it all.
A bit like the police and crime commissioners, set up by the Tories. Labour come in, get rid of them. Cost us absolutely astounding money. Chief of police, millions. Who asked me? The chief of police was suspended for 2 years on full pay. Then he had a deputy. Anyway, don't get me started. We're looking into it all. Shaun, what have you picked out from the papers, please?
Touching a bit on what we were just talking about earlier is there's the millions at risk of retirement shortfall. So we've just talked about how people are exhausted, business owners. Is it all worth it? There's loads of positive stories out there at the moment, but also there's lots of people that are just tired. But then you look at it and think, as a business owner, a lot of people we talk to, the business is their pension pot. And this isn't me touting for work, but how many business owners know the true value of their business? So the business that they're reshaping, growing, looking at, that's going to be their exit in X amount of years' time. Do you actually know what that's worth? And is that actually going to be enough to retire? And that's just for the business owners. You've then got the employees and how hard everything is. So it's a risk, I've just turned 40 myself, and I'm kind of thinking about retirement, and it's kind of when, how, state pension, will there be one? What would it be? So it's a big thing, and it's for us. It's just making sure that the business owners we're talking to, kind of they're really planning in advance, like how they're actually going to have the lifestyle that they desire. So that's the one thing that I've kind of looked at, and it's a massive topic with a lot of our clients at the moment. Just what's the business worth? Talking to the IFA, getting the company valued. What do we need to do to basically make this business a real pension pot?
Okay, thank you ever so much for that. And I'm 62 this year. Obviously it's in the forefront of my mind moving forward. Not that I love the job so much, I probably will, be on for too long. Anyway, Alex, what's your story from this week's Punchline, please?
Mine's the one about the development of the old Debenham site in the centre of Gloucester, which I think, when you look at it, is possibly a real success story for the town. Because if that building had been left empty, it would have been pretty grim. And it looks good. You've got the library there, and there's some retail coming in and everything else. So I think that's a success. But I think it's also something that's a bit of a bee in my bonnet. It's the lack of development in city centres. I suppose Gloucester's an example, but Cheltenham's got its own problems as well. And just generally, that there's nobody going into these units, and it's turning what used to be vibrant places into a bit of ghost towns, especially late at night. So it's sad to see, but it's also good to see that with good investment and the right mind, sometimes something good can happen as well.
Without a shadow of a doubt. There was a piece in the national papers also about turning more of these empty shops into housing, getting it back into as it was in the sort of late 1900s, really.
Yeah.
It's only these expansion of Amazon, because you can't fight Amazon. It's too big, isn't it? It's too big now. It's too grip. Anyway, okay. I could bring that into the conversation. We've got a couple of minutes left. You want Amazon? Is it too big? Maybe another time. Okay, fortunately, that's all we got time for. I'd like to thank our fantastic panel. Thanks ever so much for joining us. My wonderful sponsors, Hazelwood's Accountants and Business Advisors. And I'd like to thank you all for watching. Next week, we'll be back again. And in between that, it's all in the punchline. Thank you. Bye.